Episode 106 of Five Drinks or Midnight. You know, the show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks. We try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we are talking to Alan Kennedy, master blender of Redemption Whiskey. But before we do, like and subscribe, hit the bells, the whistles. You know what to do. Leave a comment if you like what we're doing. Let's get started. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. Five Drinks or Midnight, five drinks, five questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. So
Thank
good
you.
to be here. Good to have a drink. So it's about time.
Yeah.
No, I've been a fan for a while. You've caused a lot of problems with me and coworkers many times with your brackets. So I'm happy to be here. So
yeah, thank you. We know how busy you are. So again, we're really excited to delve into some redemption. So I guess first, what are we drinking first?
So drink-wise, like I'm old bartender for years, and like one of the things that always got me when I'm first starting drinking, I need something refreshing. So, you know, bourbon brambles have always spoken to that. Like it's the margarita of the bourbon world, right? Like you've got the lemon and you've got the sweet and you've got the blackberry, which is like the state fruit of Kentucky, so it all fits into the bourbon world together. Then that hit of the bourbon, I use a Redemption Wheated on there, so it's a little softer, or he plays with everything. But it's just that, like, you can have this in pitchers, man. Like, this is that perfect, like, beginning of the night drink. So it's just great. And it's got that beautiful, beautiful color. Like, beautiful. Mine's taller than yours, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, shit, I guess I didn't know it was supposed to be in a tall glass.
So I liked how it looked. I was like, I'm going to go with the tall glass today. So there we go.
Again, I make this joke that I'm a terrible bartender. I got a heavy hand and I'm super slow, and I'm good at this side of the bar. I'm good at drinking, but I'm terrible at making drinks. So,
fair enough.
But cheers.
Sláinte. Again, just that perfect like beginning of the day, like you're just going out. It's got that flavor to it. The wheated bourbon just kind of like eases it into it. You still get that punch, but it's not overbearing. It's just a good start of the day.
I agree. What can you talk, like, why again, you said a little softer for the wheated, but why the wheated? I mean,
so like, especially our wheated. So our wheated it's like that beginning of the world of bourbon. We started doing it because with Redemption's whole ethos is, pre-prohibition. And so, rye was king pre-prohibition. That's our the basis of what we do. And so we started with our rye whiskey. We've done our regular bourbon, which is 21% rye. We started getting into the high rye, which is 36, and then we kind of took a step back and we're like, hey, where rye doesn't grow everywhere. It's not. It doesn't like certain areas. I'm from Tennessee, and I can tell you right now, it doesn't always grow the best there. So we started looking at other historical ones, and we found old wheated recipes. And so we want to do an expression of that and what people were drinking in that world. So this is our Redemption Wheated. It's 45% winter wheat. It's got that softness. It's got that roundness. You still get the caramel and the vanilla coming through. It's a little bit more easy approaching for a bourbon. And it's a great place to start the night. So it also mixes really well with those like fruit flavors and those sweeter flavors without fighting too much.
Well, then I guess let's just jump right into question one. You have one of, again, I've been saying this a lot for the past like three guests, but you have one of the most interesting origin stories. Pastry chef, tequila ambassador. Like, how did you get into the whiskey world? And like, how did you get into the spirits business?
We'll do the shortened version because there's always the pitfalls in between. But I started actually as a pastry chef. So when I am one of three sons, and when my mom was pregnant with my little brother, she wanted something just for the two of us. And so what she did was she taught me how to bake.
Okay.
And it stuck. and it stuck with me my whole life. And I eventually went to pastry school. While I was in pastry school, I had to make this thing called money. So, I just got to pay for these things. And I ended up working at a chain fondue restaurant that we're probably all aware of. And the owner of there was a sommelier, and he had this amazing wine list. And I figured out pretty quickly, and I was like, hey, I can make more money selling wine. And then I got the bug. And so I started learning the sommelier side, and I loved it. I loved the openness of it and the learning, and it's helped me great throughout my career. And I went through sommelier, and then I found cocktails and continued in cocktails and kept learning, and started making cocktails for other companies other than the restaurants I was in, bars I was working at, and started working in that, and ended up creating a company where I made cocktail recipes for people. I helped them with brand ambassador programs. I helped them with events. Led me to end up owning a tequila, being a partner in a tequila at one point. And then I got a client called Whistle Pig. And I met a guy named Dave Pickerel. And I traveled a lot with that man. And a new bug got a bit on that. Dave was one of those. He was one of the best, man. Like there will never be another Dave, for good and bad. And it's what he taught me and what he showed me got me going down my own path on it, and that led me to Town Branch. Ended up becoming the head blender, then master blender for Town Branch, and the head distiller, and went to school and learned all the science of the distilling, and then last September there was this press release came out for this thing called Surly, and just blew my mind. And Surly is Redemption's transfer into the world of old wine techniques. And we take a rye whiskey and we add some of the backsets, some of those, like the yeast and what's left over from the brewing and the fermenting. We add that back into the barrel and we age that onto it. And seeing this blew my mind. And so when I get this call, I get this email like, hey, we're looking for someone. I was like, I jumped on it. And the funny thing is, the end of every interview, they're always like, so do you have any questions for us? And every one of mine, I had 9 of them, and every one of them was just badgering them, like, tell me more about Sir Lee. It's great. I mean, what kind of a dream job is this? I mean, I've got an amazing team. I've got an amazing collection of barrels. I've got a brand that has a soul and care, and I have bosses that, understand not only what I'm doing, but can mentor me in other sides of it. And I can grow and I can innovate, but at the same time, I have this foundation of, Redemption Rye and High Rye and Bourbon that are there, and I have something, always there to land with. It's a dream job. It just really is.
That's awesome. And then, so like you've been with Redemption now, what, almost a year?
Almost a year. So I started in December. We had to do the photo shoots, and we had to do the intro stuff, the welcome to the world stuff. But she and I have been learning how to dance for about a year now. So
okay, still like each other.
Yeah, we still like each other. We still step on each other's toes a little bit every now and then, but we're learning. It's whiskey's a living thing. It breathes and it reacts and it has emotions, and you can't just come in and be like, and force your hand. You have to learn, where it's been and what it's doing, and learn its history and its loves and its hates. And that's, I think I'll still be doing that till to the day I move on. So it's one of those that you have to have the passion for it. So.
Yeah. And, well, speaking of which, like off of that, how did your family, again, going into like pastry chef and pastry school, and then going into then the spirits world, was your family a little bit more like, oh shit, it's just another direction, or were they like, oh yeah, he's gonna do something?
I have an unbelievably supportive wife,
excellent,
and children that understand. I think my 6-year-old knows more about bourbon than most consumers at this point. Just like osmosis, she actually knows how to run a still. She's 6. But my parents have always they've been supportive. They've been understanding, and it's because it's funny. The pastry to whiskey isn't different.
Right.
I'm doing the same thing. Pie is my favorite pastry. I love pies, and like One of the greatest ones living in Kentucky and Tennessee is a Derby pie. Do you know Derby pie?
No.
Chocolate pecan pie with bourbon in it.
Okay.
Can't beat that, right? But
Perfect. Sounds, yeah, done.
how you toast the pecans, the type of sugars you use, the type of chocolate, the type, what you do to the crust, the type of bourbon, all these things play and make that final product. And, a pie, just like bourbon, is science meets artistry. And if you don't put love and emotion and caring into it, it's not going to be good. Like with whiskey, I can make a 93 score in whiskey. Everybody can, just by the science. But it's that emotion. Everything, I do things based on that emotional love and memory and sense memory. That's how you make whiskeys that bring passion to people.
Question 2, drink 2. What are we drinking?
So, you got to go. If you're going with the king of spirits, you got to go with the king of cocktails, right? And as much as I have Dale DeGroff, like the actual king of physical cocktails would be, it's the old fashioned. It's got to be. It's simple, but it's just perfect. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Rye was king in this country before Prohibition. If you look back right before, the first place that the Prohibition hit was Statesville, North Carolina. The number one brand of whiskey in the country was coming out of Statesville. So it doesn't surprise me. And it was a rye whiskey. Rye died off after Prohibition because of corn subsidies, but like rye was king. And don't get me wrong, I love a bourbon old fashioned. I'm not saying it has to be rye. I'm not that guy. Enjoy what you drink. I've had vodka old fashions that were amazing, but like for me, the king of it is rye because I want that power. I want that spice. And when we make Redemption Rye, like I'm looking for that balance of like high spice and beauty and caramel and that kick. But then I want that to flow into the floralness and the beauty. And like nothing can do that like rye whiskey. It's the king of the king of whiskeys for a reason.
Rye for me in an old fashioned is the bourbon can stay in the Glencairn or wherever you want to. But yeah, for me, a rye old fashioned is the way to go.
It's just they're good.
And again, so I guess this leads perfectly in the question too. You talked a little bit about rye being king, and when they announced your position at Redemption, they talked about how you were in charge of restoring rye whiskey to its pre-prohibition prominence. Not looking for like anything but secrets or anything like that. But how's it going?
It's going amazing. So it's great. So with coming into Redemption, I'm walking into a place that has, I've got barrels going up to almost 20 years old now. I have rye, I have high rise, I've weeded, I've got a plethora of things to work with and a team that's going to allow me to investigate and do things. And we've got a lot of things in the cooking. There's obviously, I can't say everything that's going.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not looking for secrets.
As much as I get along with all the other blenders and distillers, we still all listen to what each other are doing. So it's part of that. So, but it's going really, really well. I'm seeing, being able to adapt and do things with newer, the bourbons, taking the things that, we've made before. Like our cores are never going to change. Like that's the heart and soul of what we do. But as we start moving into new products and looking at the future of it, I get to put my spin on things now. And it's nice because like everything I do is based on emotion and sense memory and experience, right? Everybody's always talking now about like premiumization of spirits and like everybody's taking advantage of that. Like here, this is great. We're going to take this off the market and put it back next year for twice the price. And like the way we view this is we're trying to, the catchphrase of premiumization of experience is what we're doing. We're not raising the prices. We're just trying to create something that a brand that has different things for different experiences. You have that bad day. I want to be there for you. If you want to celebrate with your mom, I'm there for you. Like we want something that is there, and I want everyone to feel my experience and my love and my emotions. I really am like the way I make whiskey is it's like everybody jokes it's my Dr. Seussian brain, but like the best example was like last year at Halloween, I've got two little daughters. And my youngest daughter is her first Halloween, like trick or treating, and like so she's tired. She's like almost 2, right? And so she and I stop and finish trick or treating, and my oldest daughter and my wife continue to go. And so I'm passing out candy, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, but of course I'm giving her candy. It's of course, right? So I open a bag, and I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Sugar Daddies?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Okay, so they still pass those out in Kentucky, and I opened them up and I handed it to him, and I watched like her eyes open and this emotion and this passion from tasting this thing. And I went back and I pulled like 700 barrels and pulled 50 of them that were like butterscotch and vanilla. And I wanted to not only recreate what I saw her go through, but what I felt as a father. I get goosebumps talking about the story, but it's like I wanted to purvey that in a whiskey, that experience, that moment in time. And it's funny because like I read reviews of this whiskey, and it's like people are frantic and they don't know what I experienced, but they feel it. And that's what I want to give to all of our whiskeys. I want to give that love and that emotion and that soul. Like we've hit a time where there's a lot of great whiskeys in the world. And now like I want to be one that's there for the experience and the reason I want this to be part of your experience and what you're feeling in life, because like there's a lot of us out there, and we gotta, if we're gonna do it, let's do it with love.
Nice. I mean, you kind of jumped into my question 3, so like, I'm just gonna use that as a follow up. But I mean, off of that, like, because again, you talk about you make whiskey with a soul, and can you kind of again, you talked a little bit. It's about that experience, that sensory moment. But can you talk a little bit about like how you go about doing that kind of thing? Like when you're making, like how do you decide if that soul is good enough to be put in a bottle? Like,
so the final answer to that is that my wife approves it. All innovation for me starts with a moment of time. I was down at Tales of the Cocktail a couple weeks ago, and I was sitting. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sure you've been to Tales of the Cocktails. The big party that night hadn't let out yet, so like Bourbon Street is still a little bit quiet. We're gonna quotate that, but like I'm looking down with a friend of mine, and I see the dark and the humidity and the lights above it, and I start feeling that, and I start wanting to put that into like whiskey. I listen to a lot of music too, like music influences, and there's 2 big genres for me when it comes to whiskey making, and it's punk and hip hop. Always, nothing is as developed as hip hop. Like hip hop has so many layers going on and so much happening that it can inspire what you're making as you're picking things. And nothing is as true and raw as punk. I'm talking real punk, like punk. Like it's nothing is that raw and true. So like I listen to a lot of music when I'm picking stuff out, and you just start feeling through it. You feel through the samples, you feel through the aeration, you wait for that moment. It's a lot, it's waiting for that perfect moment where everything seems to come together. And I don't know how to explain it, but like
no,
in each one I'm looking for that, and I want that feel, and it tells me when it's not ready. And I know it's one of those like weird statements to make where people are like, oh yeah, whatever. But like I do, like I dance with these whiskeys, and like it will tell me when it's ready. And then I go take it to my wife. and I'm like, am I crazy or is this good? And she's like, no, that's ready, or keep dancing. So,
dance? All right.
She's the true master blender of the family. So
excellent. Your top secret weapon. Exactly. We heard it here first. So like, yeah. Question 3, drink 3. I'm excited for this one. What are we drinking?
All right, so this one, it goes by many names, but I'm going to call it a Papa. And I'm calling it that because I'm going to give credit to this. But so this is a glass Coca-Cola. You can change the soda if you want, but I like glass Coca-Cola. You drink a little bit of it out. You pour some whiskey back into it. and then you top it with salted peanuts.
All right. Hang on. Give me.
It's just the perfect mix. So this one's, and we're using the Redemption High Rye in this one. So I want that like vanilla and that berry fruitiness and that oak to come through to match with like the cinnamon and the lime oils that's in Coca-Cola, and then the salt kind of brings everything together with that like earthiness and sweetness of a peanut, and then you get a snack. So this one is, my grandfather growing up, I used to always watch him put peanuts and Coke, and it was just, I grew up in the South. It was just something we did. And then I give all credit to this to a guy named Ben Clemens in Nashville, Tennessee. He used to, have a place called 308, and now he's got a couple places in Nashville. He's doing amazingly well. But he did this, and he put this on the menu, and like I would go in there constantly and just drink them because it's just that perfect mix of like slightly salty, and you get that, all those flavors, the cinnamon and the lime and everything mixing together with the whiskey, and it's perfect. So cheers.
Awesome. Cheers.
And as I said, you get a snack.
Oh yeah, there you go. Damn. That is fucking good. That is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, like I remember the peanuts in there when from my granddad, but I give all credit to the thought of putting bourbon into it. Damn, like amazing bartender and amazing, bar owner, and like, yeah, I think I drank way too many of these with that man. So, thank you, Ben.
All right, yeah, thank you. Wow, okay. I think
now,
I love it
as you go on though, and you start drinking more of these, other peanuts work well too.
Hazelnut, cashew nut, macadamia nut. That was the one that was sent her.
So like Cajun peanuts.
Oh yeah,
add a different flavor to it.
Well, even too, like, do you go like? Can you go cashews or even like the honey roasted or
right?
Like,
and then you can go into like the Sprite world. You have different things there. I saw somebody doing it with Blenheim's, if you know Blenheim's ginger ale, like the super hot ginger ale. I saw somebody doing it with that way. Anything in a glass bottle. So,
all right.
I did good when you've already revisited it like 3-4 times. Like, it's that's it. There's something about it.
Is. Question 3. So again, you talked about music and how music is a big part. We read that you liked punk music because it teaches you a life lesson.
Yeah, every time.
So for question 3, if somebody was going to follow in your footsteps, what is your go-to song, and what life lesson should they learn? Like, what's the one thing that they should learn?
God, I get one?
Yeah.
Fugazi's Waiting Room.
Okay.
And it's that moment where you need to. If you listen to the song, you'll understand this one. Life's gonna stop every now and then, and you need to just relax and work through it. That is Waiting Room. It is. Waiting Room is one of those songs that like just is perfect in every way, shape, or form, and it's raw, but at the same time like exacting. Fugazi is one of those bands that like it. If you don't know Fugazi, if those listening, please go listen to Fugazi. You can't go see them. Please listen to them because they go the whole array from like the deepest punk to these piano concerto songs that are just like make you feel your soul. And like, you can't beat that. But yeah, so if I'm doing one, it's Fugazi's Waiting Room.
All right. And what parting advice would you give? What life lesson would you like to pass on to like somebody that's starting out in the business or following in your footsteps?
Find a mentor. You're not in this alone. None of us are. You can't be. And it doesn't have to be like another whiskey maker. I've had, as I said, Dave Pickerel was my mentor. Connor Ryan is a good mentor of mine. He's a whiskey maker in Ireland. Wayne Donaldson is a winemaker here in the U.S. and like he's a big mentor of mine. But I've had Matt Peckman, who is a brand manager and marketing guy for so many of the amazing brands that we've seen out in the in the industry. He's been a great mentor. Find these people that will help lift you up, but also tell you when call you out when you need to be called out, and help you, teach you, and work through things with you. It's the most important thing, and it's the most forgotten thing. We're not solo people. We're not solo beings in this world.
Well, and one, we love Connor. Connor is absolutely fucking amazing.
He's one of the best. So
yeah, but I mean, too, I think too, like the community, that the spirits community, even it's come up a lot when talking with like distillers and blenders, and just, you may all be in a competition, but yet you're all on the same team. Like you can have a problem, you can call up somebody, and they'll be like, did I have this problem, or how'd you fix this? And like everybody is, because again, rising tide raises all ships. So like the idea of like, and I think finding a mentor that's just damn good advice.
It's funny that like you mentioned it that way too, because like I've talked to a lot of distillers and young distillers and young blenders in other parts of the U.S. And I'm like, you need to just come to Kentucky and spend some time. And they're like, oh, why? It's not, Kentucky's not where everything is made. And I'm like, no, it's not. But the thing is 98% of all the people that do what we do in Kentucky, A, understand that like we're just doing white collar jobs that people think is cool. And B, we all talk to each other. We'll all sit down and break bread, and we'll all help each other. It is an amazing community. This is the only community in the world, distilling and blending and spirits is the only industry in the world that I know of that like, we don't care who you are, where you're from, what you look like, sex, gender, nationality. No one cares. Can you do the job? Are you willing to sweep the floors? Are you willing to put your time in with us? That's all people care about. That's it.
Yep.
It's the perfect group of people for it.
So question 4, drink 4. What are we drinking?
All right. So as you progress through this, like you're heading towards the, close, almost the end of the night, you need something like fresh and cleansing to it. So highballs are perfect. Highballs are one of the perfect drinks anyway. There's so many variations, but this one is going to be Redemption Rum Cask Rye. So we take our 95.5 rye at about 5 to 6 years of age. We put it in rum barrels for a year, split half Jamaican because I want that funkiness. I want all those esters. I want that beauty. The other half Caribbean. I hate that term, but like, just like blanketed, but like a little bit of Trinidad and Tobago, a little bit of, Barbados. We're looking at, different ones from different areas. I look for barrels with people that have the same passion that I do. So like we keep that love flowing through.
Cool.
And so you have this like rye that's like liquid sunshine, and mix that with a little soda, a little lemon, and just let it shine. This is also a great one because of the power and the flavors that are in this whiskey. It can be a low out cocktail as well. So if you just want to do something like half an ounce, it's perfect.
That is damn good.
But you can taste it's like sunshine.
Yeah.
Like this whiskey, I made pina coladas with this whiskey a month or two ago, and they were amazing. So
there you go. You can't go wrong. Like again, like that. Yeah. Oh no. I mean, and again, like because when I asked, I was like, what are the 5 drinks? And you came back with straight cocktails, and I was like, it doesn't have to be cocktails, but yeah, like it's just damn.
There's different parts of the night too. If you go through 5 drinks in a night, like you don't. If you're doing straight whiskey the whole time, you're not even tasting that last one. Like this way, like we've got to now we're cleansing and we're going to finish it later. It's about that balance through the night. It's just like a good meal. It has to have parts and valleys and peaks and all the good parts.
All right. So question 4, you talked about mentors. We talked about Connor. If you were going to have 5 people together for a whiskey tasting that we just, who would be those 5 people, living or dead? Who would be like those? Like who would sit at your table?
Obviously, Dave.
Yeah.
I can't. The knowledge I got to learn from him for a small amount of time. And I wasn't his employee. I wasn't following him around. It's when I had time with him. And I would give anything for more, but not just for this, just because he's a friend. Booker, no.
Okay.
I mean, the passion and the people kind of sometimes call me like the bourbon cult leader. And because of the passion and it's the revival of it, and I'm always like, praise the bourbon, and I kind of feel like he was my predecessor on that. Like he was so true to the spirit and the soul of it that I would love just to sit down and listen. Connor Ryan would always have to be on that table. He would have to be. He's brilliant, and if you don't know his whiskeys, you need to go try them. I'll let you put a link to that.
He's done the show. There's already going to be a little tag that pops up.
He's a brilliant whiskey maker. There's so many. This is like I'm trying to who also who would I want, and only 5 of them. Yeah. I would also want Owen from Angel's Envy.
Okay.
I've had a short amount of time talking with him. He seems like an amazing guy, and I would love just to be able to sit down and jam with him more. And I would love to see. I think it would help in the whole conversation having. And he has a great hairstyle. I would put Owen in there. He seemed like he was in what I've read and what he's doing. I would love to learn more on what how he's growing and when he's working through it. And then, you know what? Andy Nelson.
Okay.
The passion that it takes, because I'm from Nashville, and I've watched him and his brother take this idea of what their family, not idea, but what their family did, and take it and rebuild it from the smallest brick to what Greenbrier is today. And I haven't got to see him in years. And I want to, and he's done such amazing things and come up with such amazing, finishings. I would love to have him at that table too, just to catch up and learn. So I think those are my 5.
All right. I think that's a
variance of everything. There's so many, I don't know. I mean, there's so many of them that I would just be brilliant to have time with, and you could do a table of just 5 people from Scotland. It's just
Well, and again, so that's my follow-up question: what are you drinking?
What am I drinking?
Well, 5 guys. Let's say you're doing a 5 drinks or midnight, no questions, but what are 5 cocktails or 5 drinks that you guys? I mean, obviously the Coke and Peanuts one is definitely
obviously that one. The funny thing is, though, just to keep it sane, tequila. I think we're drinking tequila because I don't think any of us can I wouldn't want to put anybody into that position of but no, this you got to have the discussion without the fight. So don't you have to take the bourbon, the whiskey out of this? Because we've got rye guys, we've got Irish guys, we've got old school bourbon guys, we have new school bourbon guys. So tequila I think is the drink of choice for the night.
That's fucking awesome. It's being we're not gonna fight about. We don't make any of this.
Yeah,
so
we're not fighting.
Drink this.
Here, my friends made this. Enjoy it.
Question 5, drink 5. What are we drinking?
So this is the one that's always in my flask. I was told a long time ago that no matter what you do and where you go, you should have a flask of what one of the things you're the proudest of. So because not everyone's going to be able to taste, having tasted what you do. So this is what's in my flask, and this is Redemption Cognac Finished High Rye. So this is our high rye bourbon at 5 to 6 years, finished for a year in cognac casks. It is warm and inviting. It's got the apricot and the spice coming from the cognac. You just want to melt into your chair by a fireside, and this is your whiskey for conversation at the end of the night. The end of 5 drinks, you're at that point where now the truth is there. You're having those deep conversations. This is what you sip on.
Shit, I forgot to say cheers before I sip.
Cheers, sorry.
Cheers.
I'm not offended by that. This is one of those whiskeys that just kind of pulls you in.
Yeah. That is so nice.
And I've made cocktails with it many times, and I love them. But this is my warm, as I said, this is my end of the night, soul searching with your friends whiskey.
No, and this is the first time I've had this, so this is a true treat. So this is absolutely like I'm excited. Like this is.
It has like the aspects, like it's not overbearing on either of them.
Yeah,
the bourbon is definitely there, and it has hints of the apricots coming through, and these warming notes of their spices coming through from the brandies, but it's still truly a high rye bourbon in its own. You still get the corn in the background and like this amazing finish and warmth. It's a beautiful whiskey.
Yeah, agreed. This is Again, you're drinking this. I don't know how you can fight at the end of the night. All right. So, question 5 comes down to the flip of the Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to answer. The coin will give us the answer. But also, if you feel like you need to answer, totally feel free to answer. So, question 5, which kind of comes back down to a statement you said during question 1. So, do you think that rye is finally going to take the crown back from bourbon since the 1920s and really be America's spirit again?
All right, let's see what the coin says. That was a really bad one. We're going to do that with a spin again. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I think with rye, and Redemption has been core player in this before my time and now during my time, but like rye by itself, rye and bourbons. I mean, if you look at what's happening internationally, I mean, the Irish are making rye whiskeys, and the Scots are making rye whiskeys, and I hear rumor that the Japanese are working on rye whiskeys, and it's this culmination of years of understanding. I mean, George Washington made rye whiskey, and it isn't something that was lost. All whiskey was lost in the 60s and 70s in the U.S. Like people are like, yeah, bourbon was still around. Not really. Like we're here talking about this thanks to a very small number of brands that like survived and were able to keep going, making American whiskeys. One of them making bourbon, basically, and but like everything died away. So it's like rye just took a minute longer to come back. I mean, again, the corn subsidies are still there, so it's still a little bit cheaper. It is not economically easier to make rye whiskey. It also takes longer to get it right, but it's worth it. It's powerful. It's beautiful. It has strength, but at the same time, it's delicate, and like nothing can compare. So,
I agree, and I love that you commented that it's starting to become a worldwide thing. Like, honestly, like that's where that was kind of my question, where I was kind of looking for that answer. So great plug, even though you've never seen the questions beforehand. But it was just like one of those things. But no, but Ireland is big into the rye. Like Kelvegan made a rye, but they couldn't classify it as an Irish whiskey. Right. Or it was a specialty spirit because it never could be classified as an actual Irish whiskey, so it was a specialty spirit. But then again, now like Powers has their rye, and again, like everybody's like kind of getting into that rye. And
I'm not doubting Canada's been in this game longer than Canada never stops. So
right, exactly.
But you see these other guys starting to find the power and find the understanding, and like it's the new tool in the toolbox for a lot of people. But like you're talking to them, they're like, I wish we'd had this the whole time. Yeah. It's in Irish whiskey. A lot of what I'm hearing is one of the two grains that everyone's experimenting with, and the other one being oats, because these are like forgotten in their time. Like, oh, they were using these before, so let's try this again. So.
Alan, thank you so much for joining us. That's 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered, not even close to midnight. Sir, if you are ever in my town, please look me up. We got some drinking to do.
Amen to that. So thank you very much. Thank you for letting me spread the gospel of whiskey in my revival. So thanks very much, and thanks for having me, and thanks for having Redemption here.
Oh, please, we're super excited. Again, this was freaking awesome tasting. Again, you now got me hooked on whiskey, Coke, and peanuts. So I was so excited. But cheers to you, sir, and hopefully till we drink again in person. So
cheers.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Don't stop.